There's an interesting story in the Talmud. Talmud says, first of all, what is Mashiach's name? Who is Mashiach? So the Talmud says, Mashiach, you know what his name is? His name is Mitzorah. His name is a leper. He's a leper. The very Rebbe Yamru, Chivra Shmoel. He's a leper. And the Talmud actually tells the story, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi met once Elijah the prophet at the tomb, at the grave of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. And he asked him, tell me, when is Mashiach coming? We wait for Mashiach. We pray for him every day. We say one of the 13 principles of our faith is, Ani ma'amin, I believe with perfect faith in the coming of Mashiach. And though he may tarry, nonetheless, I will wait him every single day. It's a foundation of our faith, of our belief. We wait for him. We yearn for him every day. My father's been saying it. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, we've all been saying it for years and years. And we have been waiting. So he said, go ask him. Go ask Mashiach when he's coming. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, well, where do I find him? So Elijah the prophet says, you can find him at the gates of Rome. So Rabbi Yeshua asked, how will I recognize him? Simple. He's sitting there with all the poor people at the gates of Rome, and they're all sick people bandaging themselves. And you will notice that there's one person who puts on one bandage, or takes off one bandage and then puts on one bandage. Takes off one bandage, he's got bandages all over his body, but he takes off one at a time. But everybody else takes off all their bandages from their whole body, and then they rebandage themselves. And he says the reason why Mashiach does this is because he has to be ready to come at any given moment. So yes, he can't take off more than one bandage and quickly put it back on. So he'll be ready for the sign. When the Jews are ready for Messiah, he'll come immediately. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi goes to him, goes to the gates of Rome. He recognizes the Messiah and he says, Messiah, Mashiach, when are you coming? And Mashiach answers, Hayom, today. I'm coming today. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi got all excited. Wow, Mashiach's coming today. Amazing. The sun sets that day. Mashiach still didn't arrive. So the next day he goes to Elijah the prophet. He says, Elijah, Mashiach lied to me. He says he's coming today. That was yesterday. He's not here. He's not here. So Elijah the prophet says, you didn't understand him. He said, Hayom, today, im bekolot ishmau, if you listen, if you hearken to my voice. Mashiach is there waiting. He wants to come today. But the Jewish people have to be ready to hearken to his voice. The Lubavitcher Rebbe actually said many times that our generation is the one that will witness the coming of Mashiach. We are the ones that will see his coming. What I want to focus on today is, why is Mashiach called a leper? What? Mitzorah, a leper? A leper is a punishment for gossip. What on earth is the connection between Mashiach and a leper? And to understand this is a beautiful answer. You see, we don't have leprosy today. Leprosy doesn't exist. The original tzarat that the Torah, the Bible talks about, doesn't exist today. Why not? Because it existed in the olden days when Jews were in a much higher, sublime, perfect level, and the only problem they had was external. So tzarat came, a white patch externally on their skin, signifying you're good. You internally are 100%, you are good. But what's wrong with you is externally, you have a little external problem with you, and that tzarat will come fix. Tzarat was a very, very high light, according to the Kabbalah. And the reason why it came on the Jews then is because they were on a very, very high level. They only had an external problem, so therefore the tzarat came to fix it. But in today's day and age, we're on a much lower level. We're on a much lower spiritual level. And there's something wrong with us, not only externally, but internally as well. And therefore we're not good enough to get tzarat, leprosy. But Mashiach. The Jewish people as a whole are considered one body. Mashiach is indicative of that body. Now, we have good and we have evil. Somebody once asked the Rebbe, how could it be that the generations before, 1,000 years ago, they were on such a high spiritual level, yet they did not witness the coming of Mashiach? How could it be that our generation, which is on a much, much lower spiritual level, will be able to see the coming of Mashiach? Because the Rebbe said many times, our generation is the last one of exile. We are ikvaset the Mashiach, the heels of Mashiach. So how could it be specifically our generation will see the coming of Mashiach when the Rishonim, the Achronim, all the great rabbis of yesteryear weren't able to bring Mashiach? And the Rebbe gave an analogy. He said, imagine you have a giant, and there's a wall which is just a little bit above the giant's eyesight. The wall is massive, massive wall. So the giant will take a dwarf and will put the dwarf on his shoulders, and the dwarf will be able to peek over the wall. Our generation is sustained. We are that dwarf, but we are standing on the giant's shoulders. The giant is all the previous generations. All their spirituality and all the good they did in the world is not knocked over. It's here, and we are standing on their shoulders. That means when a person does good, it's like almost like a wall, right? You have a wall, and it's accumulated. More accumulated, more accumulated, more accumulated. Our generation is very, very small compared to the previous generations, but we are standing on their shoulders. So therefore, when it comes to Mashiach, Mashiach is indicative of the whole Jewish nation as a whole. And the whole Jewish nation as a whole is good, because we're standing on that giant's shoulders. Only a little bit of bad is left, and that's the tzarat, that's the leprosy. That's why Mashiach is called a leper, because there's only a little bit of bad as a whole that needs to be fixed. And it says Mashiach is suffering for the pain, for the sins of our generation. The reason why he has leprosy is because of the mistakes, the sins that we have made in this world. But one thing we need to know from this lesson is that we are the generation that will see the coming of Mashiach. He's going to come now. He's going to come right now, today. As Elijah the prophet said, today, if we listen to our voice. The Frierdiker, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe once said, imagine you have the Tsar coming to visit a military base. So the soldiers all get ready for the Tsar to visit, and they clean their huts and their shacks, and they make their beds, and they clean the toilets, and they make their uniforms. Everything's done. And the previous Lubavitcher said, one thing still is left is to polish the buttons. And that's all that needs to be done. And the previous Lubavitcher said this many, many years ago. And the Rebbe said later on that in our generation, even the buttons have been polished. The Rebbe once said, I don't understand why he hasn't come yet. By all signs, he should be here. He should come. Everything we do our whole lives is to bring Mashiach. On the 28th day of Nisan, 1991, the Rebbe said that he has done everything that he can to bring Mashiach. Everything that he can. And now the mission is up to us. We, you, I, you, all around us, we are now tasked with the mission to bring Mashiach. How do we do that? Follow what the Torah says. Do another mitzvah and another mitzvah and another mitzvah. Study Torah. Study more Torah, study more Torah and more Torah. Today on YouTube, on the internet, you can study Torah everywhere and anywhere. It's easily accessible on the subway with podcasts, anything you want. But study Torah every day. Do another mitzvah and another mitzvah and another mitzvah, and we will bring Mashiach. I will see you in Jerusalem tonight, eating the Livyoson, the special meal that will be prepared by Mashiach.